What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 1 of season 1 of Delicious in Dungeon, which is now out on Netflix. I guess this is also episodic, so we're probably going to watch a couple episodes of this to see how it goes. If we're digging it, we'll continue reviews. There also are some other shows we're curious about too as well, so we'll probably check those out, do little quick reviews of them and see where we're at. But as of right now, we've seen this first episode, so hopefully you've watched as well, because we're going to be doing full spoilers ahead. And real quick recap. I think is pretty straightforward. Basically, this anime takes place in a medieval fantasy world where people are going into a dungeon and adventuring into that dungeon. In the very beginning, we got some slight lore of people discovered some guy in like a dungeon or cave who basically said, there's a wizard down there, defeat him, he'll give you his kingdom, whatever. He turned to dust, disappeared. And then we are met with a dungeon party, basically fighting a red dragon. One of the members gets eaten, at least that's what we're made to believe. Mm-hmm. And the party leaves the dungeon, and they're basically discussing how they're going to go back and save, I think the guy's name is Laios?
Something like
Laios?
that.
Laios?
Yeah.
His sister, who's the one who got swallowed. Real quick, it seems that people aren't very worried about death in this show so far. We don't know why, so I guess we'll find out as we move forward. But it does kind of feel like a video game or D&D or something. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they're hoping that the dragon will digest her slowly, so they want to go back and get her. They also find out that 2 of their party members have left because somebody had got them to leave for their party. And so they go back to town. They're discussing their plan like anybody playing a video game or D&D would, of whether they should sell their loot to make some money or whatever they want to do, kick people out of the party, sell their stuff. Very video game-esque, which is kind of interesting. But of course, they get hungry. They start discussing food, and they come upon this plan of going to the dungeon to kill the monsters they've already been fighting this whole time and eat them. So they have different opinions on that, but the main guy seems to be pretty he seems pretty okay with this. It seems like he's been thinking about it for a while, even as a book that teaches you how to cook these monsters. So they kill a mushroom monster and a scorpion, mm-hmm. and they get ready to prepare those to cook and eat. Marcel, I think her name is,
I believe so.
Is not very stoked about it. I forgot like a Chalchuk?
Something like that. It's something pretty silly sounding.
He's like whatever about it, but Marcel's not stoked about it at all. She seems pretty
resistant,
not happy that they're even discussing this, let alone doing it. While Laios is cooking this, this dwarf guy, I think his name was Senshi.
Yes.
Yeah. This dwarf guy comes in, seeing that they're doing it all wrong, and he teaches them how to cook the mushroom and the scorpion correctly, going through almost like he's like a sushi chef or something, mm-hmm. cutting this thing up into pieces. They all eat it. They all really enjoy it. Even Marcel, who has been resistant, she eats it. She really likes it. She's warming up to the idea of eating dungeon monsters. And they're discussing that they still got to go get his sister from the Red Dragon. Senshi is excited about the idea of eating a red dragon, so he wants to join their party to go defeat the red dragon and eat it. And so it's win-win for everybody. They gladly accept him. They move on to like a tree biome area of the dungeon, and they're exploring. They need food, and Senshi says there's fruit in the area, which ends up being gigantic vegetable monster things that they end up defeating after Marcel gets snatched up by one. They end up eating that. It seems like Marcel is becoming really okay with eating these now as she's warming up to it. This makes Laios really happy. There's something about the dead guy. What happened there?
They'd found him in one of the plans.
Yeah.
And then they were trying to figure out what to do with the body, if they wanted to try to res it or take it back or put it out in the open so someone else could take it back. They just basically didn't want to leave it to decompose.
Yeah, so. I missed the last part where they hung it up. And then, was there something else that happened at the end of the episode? It was pretty straightforward.
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's the beginning of their quest to save his sister and eat monsters. So, an introduction to characters. So, yeah. Also worth mentioning, this is done by Studio Trigger. So, it had a really interesting art style that was pretty different than what I'm used to from them, but also kind of reminiscent. So, it was kind of cool to see. What we think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just speaking on the Studio Trigger part of it, the line art and stuff like that is a little different than I'm used to from them. But I mean, so was
Yeah, some of the
Cyberpunk. So
some of the parts looked almost kind of faded, and it had to have been intentional, like the lining.
their coloring is definitely there, though.
Yeah.
They do very.
It is still a little like I want to say like almost like paper, like muted looking almost to have that fantasy aesthetic, but it has the like not quite neon, but the vibrant colors.
Yeah. So yeah, so far at least first impressions, because it was an introduction episode and they did nothing but introduce the characters and then food.
And the dungeon.
Yeah, I think so far it comes off pretty charming, which I like. I do think this anime is definitely going to be more on the fun side of things, which is totally fine.
Very fine coming from watching JJK season 2, which, by the way, we need to put out our finale as we've watched and reviewed every episode. We had technical issues, so give us time. That'll be out soon. Anyway.
Yeah. So the characters so far, we have the leader of the group, who is a human fighter. I can't remember his name now.
Laios.
This is gonna take me a few episodes to remember the name. So
Yeah, I think it's Laios or something like that.
yeah. At first came off as just kind of a generic dude, but then as we kind of learn, he's oddly obsessed with monsters, which he kind of explains himself that he has a fascination with them, which has just kind of led him down this path to eventually want to try and eat them. So that's kind of interesting, and I kind of wonder how much that's going to affect his character as we go through. The rogue character, who definitely looks like he's a halfling or something, I presume. Something click or something like that.
I think his name was Chalchuk, but they said Shalchuk.
Yeah. I remember they said his name the first time. I was like, that's a weird name.
Yeah.
But he seems the most like normal in the group, so maybe he's there to balance out the rest of it, because the elven wizard, I think she is, either she's a priest, we haven't really actually seen her do anything. She was getting ready to cast one spell, and then she mentioned she could also resurrect, so I don't know if she's just a jack of all trades in that regard. I don't know how magic works in this universe, so but she's definitely more like loud, opinionated, and very much concerned about eating anything that might have eaten a living, like human-esque type thing. So
Yeah, like when he's first proposing that they should be eating what they've basically been fighting this whole time anyway, and he's talking about how they look delicious or whatever, and it showed from her perspective, and it showed like all these like dead zombies and stuff, like
Yeah,
and she's just
undead
like
and
and she's just like,
bugs and
what the
stuff.
hell?
yeah. Versus like the other person's point of view was like a little more animal like. So and then the dwarf, which I find it funny how the Japanese, at least in anime, portray dwarves, because they always have the most like funny looking faces. I love it, but it's just kind of interesting because we kind of draw them usually a little more like gruff and like serious looking, and they're always kind of like derpy looking almost in anime. So even in Freerun, like it's just eyes and a beard basically. So pretty funny. He is obviously an enthusiast. He mentioned like he had been doing this for like 10 years, and he was just happy to see someone else be taking interest in eating monsters. He definitely kind of gives me that sushi chef. Holy crap!
Sushi chef.
Vibe. I also don't really have like any heart or deep feelings for the guy yet, just because like he's basically just been the information box of the group so far. But it's the first episode. So.
He's my favorite character so far. It's only one episode though.
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint any hard preferences on anyone just yet. But yeah, outside of that, I like the art style. I like Trigger stuff anyways. This is a little different for them, so that's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I really like that it's like a fantasy because like everything I've seen from them so far has been like futuristic. So, yeah, it's cool to see like the opposite.
Yeah, no, that's pretty sci-fi as well. I was gonna say Kill la Kill is more modern, but it's pretty sci-fi as well. So,
I only watched a couple episodes of that, but yeah, that definitely still had kind of a sci-fi vibe to it.
But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Regardless of how it goes for the channel here, I plan on at least watching the whole thing. If it's bad, it's bad, and I'll just deal with it then. But yeah, pretty interesting so far. Looking forward to seeing where it goes, because right now, if it just kind of stays like this, it's gonna be pretty meh.
Yeah, I just to be clear about it, I'm definitely interested in watching the next episode and reviewing it. So if that goes on more and more, we'll just continue to watch it. But if something else comes up that's like more high profile, we might do the weekly reviews for that instead and do like a seasonal review for this. But I am interested in watching this more. I like the art style. I like the whole atmosphere of it. I like that it's like a more fun anime so far. Although I remember watching, I never finished it. I need to finish it. Gurren Lagann felt kind of fun at first for a second, and then some dark stuff happened in an episode, and I was like, "Oh, this kind of flipped over real quick." So
yeah, that's where it's wild.
Yeah, I need to watch. I really liked it, so I need to finish it. But I don't think they'll do that here. But I'm just saying, watching the first episode, I'm like, "Oh, it's got like a nice, happy vibe. It's no stress." After watching JJK season 2, it's a very different feeling. So I'm okay if it does continue just being like a charming anime as opposed to something that needs to go anywhere deep or dark or whatever. I thought they're in a dungeon, so maybe that is exactly where I'll go. But yeah, the characters are interesting enough. I actually think the main character is kind of whatever. But it's the first episode, and I kind of get his vibe already. He's kind of one-track minded and kind of vacant, and what's going on around him. He just all about wanting to save his sister and eat monsters. But there is something endearing about that. I think it's kind of funny that he's had this book and they didn't even know that he's just sitting there thinking about that this whole time. The little Chow Chuck dude, whatever his name is. Don't really have a reading on him yet. I do think the Marcel magic user chick is funny because her archetype of just being like the fuck you guys doing kind of situation constantly, I think is fun. Especially the faces she was making constantly was pretty funny. And then
she's very animated.
Yeah, and then I think Senchi's funny because he just like showed up and he's just like all about showing them how to cook this stuff. And even when Marcel like started walking up to the plant, he just like instantly called her a moron, and she's got snatched up. I also like too that there's a brief moment there where he's like, we could chop every single limb off this plant, but we just cut at the root. And for us as the viewer, that just got rid of that real quick, because in a lot of things you see they're chopping off every piece, it grows back or it keeps going, and there's the bottom, do it right there. So that was cool. Yeah, the premise is really interesting, especially because me and you have a long video game / pen and paper background, so it has that vibe a lot. So I kind of appreciate that. As soon as you start watching it, and they're talking about inventory management, basically, I was like, is this a video game? Like, is somebody playing a video game in this show, or is this like maybe they're sitting at a table and we don't know yet? Like, I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, it just obviously was influenced by D&D and video games, stuff like that. So I like that. I am really curious to see where this goes. I like the premise. I think it could just be fun if it's just a show about them eating monsters and getting into adventures and having the Monster Hunter experience, where there's multiple parts where they finish the food and remind me of Monster Hunter. If you don't know what that is, it's a video game where you fight, kill monsters, and use their parts as resources to build armor and weapons. And And yeah, it kind of reminded me of that. So if that's going to be like the whole vibe of the show, and they keep running into like bigger, crazier monsters and making new meals out of them, that's cool. I am curious though if it moves on to anything more substantial, something that has more meat to it. But either way, as long as it's good, I don't care. So, but I am intrigued because the premise is interesting. So. Yeah, interesting first episode. Definitely curious to see where it goes. You have anything else to say?
I don't think there's much more to say. It's a pretty simple episode.
It was kind of nice too, because like after watching again JJK and like all these things are happening, I'm like new characters. This guy's got this plan, but then this dude's doing that thing, and then this guy, I don't know where the hell he went.
Yeah.
And here it's just like, oh, my sister got
Eaten by dragon.
snatched up, and we're gonna eat monsters on the way to get her. It's like, oh, okay, that's easy to follow. Cool.
Right. Just a matter of remembering people's names.
Yeah, which I think I
I
remember.
think you got them at the very least super close. So
Yeah, give me one more episode. I'll get him.
I won't.
But Senshi was the easiest one to remember.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that one I think only because it kind of reminds me of like Sensei, so it's like super easy to remember in that regard. And then Marcel is
an easy
pretty
one.
simple name.
Yeah.
But the other two are a little more odd.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's going to do it for this review. So let us know in the comments what you guys think of this first episode of Delicious in Dungeon. Are you liking it? Are you not liking it? Are you going to stick with it? If you are, stick with us, and we'll do the reviews, and you can chime in the comments with us. But let us know what you thought of this episode. Was there anything about this episode that you liked, anything you didn't like? And was there something that happened in this episode we can talk about that you want to bring up? We can talk about it later. Let us know in the comments below. But I've been Seth, this has been Chevy. Stay tuned. We'll get our JJK finale and season 2 review out soon. And stay tuned. There's the new season of anime started. So we're going to be sampling a couple. So it'll be fun
I wish it was a couple for me.
well, for me it will be, but we'll figure out what we're going to continue with. But until then, we will talk to you guys later.